Up, everybody? Welcome back to HOA MMA. Welcome, my friend AJ. How are you today, man?
I'm in good, bro. I mean, it's been quite warm over here for once. It's no
Yeah.
raining and shit, but really good weather. Life's been good at the moment. Happy belated May the 4th for people who are big Star Wars fans, just as much as I am. I know we were meant to record yesterday, but things didn't happen like that. So happy belated to all the Star Wars fans out there, like myself. Currently addicted on the new Jedi Survivor. Defo get on that.
Yep.
Great game. And I know for a lot of people who have probably watched this pod before, I'm very happy because the best movie of all time, the trailer dropped yesterday.
It's already
So,
the best movie of all time.
best movie of all time, man. Dune Part 2, November. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's Dune 2 is setting up to be an all timer, and I think you're totally right. That trailer was awesome, epic. We're really getting into the meat of everything now, so very excited also. Um, And then anything else happened to you this week? Would you head back? You're back in the office this week? Life any different?
Yeah, just back at work right now, really. Still trying to recover, so just on my foot injury and stuff.
Yep.
And just like last week, I've got again another week of a lot of birthdays. So just me, so just literally me and the bros. We can just be out, just celebrating and partying, man.
Sounds fantastic. Um, some news this week from the MMA world. Um, Rumors swirling that Francis is going to PFL. How do you feel about him signing with PFL? And where do you think this takes PFL? Is there a new level for PFL? What are your thoughts on Francis to PFL?
From a PFL standpoint, it's huge. Like you literally get one of the biggest names in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
The last time, obviously, the last time we saw him fight, he was the heavyweight champion in the biggest organization out there. So, and he's easily the biggest free agent out there by far. So, if that deal does go through, that's massive for them. But if I'm thinking from the viewpoint of obviously Ngannou, it makes no sense. Like, why would you? Why if you're fighting in the big leagues of MMA, you're fighting against the best of the best, and you kind of left because, he wanted more freedom. He wanted to box, he wanted to obviously get paid well, like he felt that he was worth, etc., etc. If that's the case, going down towards the PFL, and don't get me wrong, like the PFL is great, but, you know, unless you're like a really hardcore fan, most people couldn't even name 5 heavyweights that they
Yeah.
have, So I feel like it is like a major step back, and also this is very telling. If this rumor is true and he's going to them, and we have no announcement about him boxing, that kind of shows that, like, in terms of the market out there for him to fight a Fury, a Usyk, a Wilder, or like an AJ, that means that the market is literally just not there. So it's a very baffling move, personally, if that move was to go through.
Yeah, and if you look at PFL's heavyweight rankings, there's not, I mean, there's just not a lot of name value in there right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say, we know Maurice Green, we know Jorgen De Castro, but some of these other guys we don't know. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on Francis to carry those brackets and that season. You know what I mean? Which I think he's capable of doing. But if you're not ever fighting anybody that we think you could lose to, it also kind of devalues. Like if you're just knocking out guys that we don't even know, it doesn't really
You have
build.
Lopez in there as well. Because
Right.
if you look at Morris Green and like Jorgen, at any point, do you think like if they were both still in the UFC, do you think they would have a chance against Francis Ngannou?
No, that's
And
what
most importantly, do you think at any point that fight would get booked? No, because those people weren't even in the top 15,
right.
as far as I'm aware, anyway. So with with that being said, it's just a very baffling move. Like if unless they're offering everything that Dalaki wants, then cool. Like as long as he's basically happy, then I get that. But from a competition standpoint, it makes no sense. It would make no sense if I was go for it.
Do you know how shocking it will be if he loses in a PFL fight? Like that would be. Like you just said, the competition standpoint, it makes no sense. If they're paying him, I heard a rumor that it was close to $20 million. If they're paying him $20 million, then more power to you. And it's obvious that he has not been able to secure a boxing fight. So the clock is the clock was already ticking, and now like I don't know what he's doing, man, with his career. I get you want to have freedom, and I get you want to have all this stuff, but like, it just is it gonna really be worth it in the end? I don't know. We still have to see. The story's not done yet, but as of now, I don't think it's worked out for him. Obviously, you may differ on that one. I know you didn't love some of the comments Dana has said about him, but I don't think everything Dana said about him was false at this point. And that's just me. He's a massive signing for PFL, but we're going to need to see if PFL can bring in any extra heavyweights to maybe make it more interesting. Because right now, a lot of these guys are getting knocked out very quick.
Right.
So, let's jump into something that's a little more entertaining. And actually, people who are actually fighting in the ring right now, or the octagon. I'm sorry. Let's touch on Song YaDong versus Ricky Simone from last week. Shout out to Song YaDong. Very impressive victory over Ricky Simone. Go ahead and break it down for us a little bit. What impressed you most about Song's win this weekend or past weekend?
Everything. It's very rare to see like an all-round like performance, but he did everything right. Literally on the feet, he was lighting him up, and it wasn't just the fact he was hitting him hard and dropping him. It was clean, precise strikes and good forward pressure. Like he was walking him down at all times, really, really good footwork. He was cutting off the cage. He was just giving Ricky all the problems on the feet. And even when Ricky Simone would obviously fire back, because we know like Ricky Simone can actually crack. Someone would either move out the way or he would take a shot because for someone so young, he has a chin on him. Like he can take some heavy shots because we know Ricky Simone is very heavy-handed. And even when it also got down to the wrestling, takedown defense was literally superb. And even on the times when obviously Ricky Simone would obviously eventually take him down, he got back up. He was never like kept down. It was just an all-round great performance. Like he put on an absolute clinic all around. And the key thing for me is like you can see with every fight he's literally improving. Like you can tell when I think he's with Alpha Male, and you can tell like they're literally training him and developing him day in, day out, and he's taking it all in, and it shows off because he fought well against Hagen in his last fight. He literally just got outbeat. Like he literally fought against someone who's better than him right now. This guy's only 25. This guy's only 25, and he's already in the top 10 in the hardest division in the sport. Like his ceiling is very, very high, and I've been hiring him for like a while now. But go out and bounce back like that and put in an absolute all round and show off like a full arsenal, like offense and also defensively. Great, absolutely great.
And you covered a lot of it. Really just a phenomenal performance. Getting the KO win. He whole fight, he had the higher output. He was more accurate. He was better at attacking the body and the legs. It was a complete performance. Ricky did get him down twice, but only ended up with 51 seconds of control. It wasn't like he was stuck down there at all. He was fighting back up. And then he knocked down Ricky twice. I mean, it was the full package of Song YaDong. And to get him in to knock him out in the 5th round is just another feather in the cap of what would have been a pretty easy unanimous decision. So for Song YaDong, where do you believe he goes next?
Rob Font.
Rob Font. I love that fight. Love. Yeah, I mean that's a massive contender fight right there. Massive contender fight. Okay, so because that was so easy, where does Ricky jump back in there with a top 15 guy, or do you think he's going to stick in with top 10 guys?
I mean, considering that he kind of got beat up, I wouldn't be shocked if he fights someone between 11 and 10. I wouldn't mind him facing against Gutierrez, actually.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that fight. I mean, if I was him, if I hear a phone call from obviously Hunter, Dana, and Sean, and I hear the name Umar, I'm going to put down the phone. Put down the phone completely. But I would probably say Chris G would probably be like a really, really fun fight, and it makes sense because obviously both are coming off like recent losses, and if you look at in terms of like timeline wise, they could match up a little bit. Besides, Ricky comes out of concussion protocol because obviously he did get knocked out, so maybe.
Oh yeah, he's got 60 days for sure. But what's interesting is what are we gonna do with Dominic Cruz in that division right now? He's just kind of sitting there in the top 10. What's the move?
See, I'm still annoyed that we never got the Aldo fight. Like that fight was just ready there when Aldo was obviously still kind of fighting. Don Cruz is two things: either he needs to fight someone around him, or they're gonna feed him to someone young. It's really as simple as that. I could see maybe getting Giannis. Maybe that could be Giannis is like kind of like another chance to get like a big name, because obviously Cruz obviously got knocked out in his last fight, so we know he isn't the same Cruz. Even though against Cheeto he was winning the fight, but he was just getting beaten up, So I could potentially see that. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if Cruz kind of just gets like a fairly big name within the top 10. But it's really kind of hard with him because he obviously does a lot of commentary work as well. So it's kind of like trying to fit him in outside of Octagon.
Does he get Peter Yan?
No.
Peter Yan off 3 losses. You think it's still too much?
No, because even though Peter Yan's obviously on a 3-fight losing streak, he's still only 29-30. And he still has like a lot to offer, and there's a lot more fun matchups. Like if you put him against, let's say, Song, like if that fight was to happen, him against Cheeto, which makes a lot of sense. Those fights are a little bit more appealing. Dominic Cruz at this point isn't ready for someone kind of like Peter Yan, because even though Peter Yan's losing, he's still here, and Cruz is coming closer towards the end. And personally, if he got beat up against obviously Cheeto Vera, I think Peter Yan is still a better striker than that. And if that plays out on the feet, that could be a very, very long night.
Yeah, I mean, I get you. Then that makes sense. You got to kind of protect these guys, but at the same time, I don't think Dom's the kind of guy who like shies away from that. So that's why I'm wondering if. And I think you could like justify it because Peter's come off the 3 losses, but I also believe he's a step above where Dom is. But Dom's just kind of waiting. Like, if he doesn't get one of these guys, are they going to feed him Umar? Like, that's the problem. So like, you rather get knocked out or would you rather get wrestled for 3 rounds, and beat up that way? So it's kind of tough where he's at right now. He's kind of in a no man's land. He's 8th or 9th in the rankings, I think.
Yeah.
So he's kind of stuck right there. But what we're going to talk about next is obviously UFC 288. Bantamweights are headlining that card. We'll have more conversations about bantamweights at the end. UFC 288. Have you ever heard 2 people worse on the microphone just yelling back and forth at each other than Cejudo and Sterling? Because that was so just lame, just petty
That was
little.
bad.
It was
That
bad,
was
man.
that was literally all time bad. I mean, I did turn it on, and then within 5 minutes, I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna turn on my PS5 and do something else
It's
entirely
just
because that was just bad."
the
That
insults are
was
so
literally.
grade school. It's just grade school insults. There's nothing to it. You're not
It'll
selling us
be
anymore.
it'll be cool if they were being funny, but it just wasn't even being funny. You know, from what I'm hearing Aljo say, "You do fucking nothing," like I'm like, come on, man, I'm not trying to. Yeah,
Like the only thing that was interesting was Cejudo said he knocked out Morales, who knocked out Sterling, and that was like 8 years ago for both of them. You know, like it just there's just nothing. There was nothing interesting about those back and forths in that press conference, and I just those guys like I know Cejudo like plays into the cringe, but like Sterling is just as bad. Like he's just as bad about like just saying stupid stuff. Um, but it's going to be a hell of a fight, in my opinion. Hell of a fight. Um, before we get into the main card, is there anything on the undercard that you really want to get into?
Oh, easily. It's the fight headlining it. Judoba against Matt Favola. You already know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Two guys who just going to go in there and they're going to fight. They're going to fight because, as everyone knows, those two don't have boring fights. And, you know, if you put two people like that in there together who are just going to meet in the middle and just throw down, you already know that obviously this one is going to be a fun one. This one is going to be
that fight right there is setting up for fireworks leading into the main card. That's a well booked fight. Who do you have winning that fight?
Drew. I just feel like Drew Douglas fought against better people and he's won against better people. And I feel like in terms of like matchups, you know, when it's kind of like that, kind of like I'm gonna stand in there and I'm gonna throw down with you. It's most times Drew Douglas wins those fights. You know, even though he has a crazy chin, he can be cracked, and you know, eventually that chin will catch up with you. Well, unless you're Max Holloway, but you know. Over time, eventually, like your chin will get tested. This could be the night. This could easily be the night. But then Drew Dober is in a really, really good run form recently, and I'll just favor him just as a bit more experience, just to kind of navigate his way. Even though it's going to be chaotic and back and forth, I do trust him to kind of navigate his way and eventually potentially catch a finish.
Okay, I like that pick. I was going to probably side with Dauber also. Nothing against Favola, but I just like Dauber's experience a little bit more in these firefight situations. And, you know, he's coming off a win against Dauber's coming off wins against Green, Alves, and McKinley. So those are all guys that, you know, stand and they fight. So I think he's ready for this. Yeah, very exciting fight coming into the main card. Anything else you saw that caught your eye or pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say they're bad fights or anything like that, but just a little bit lesser known guys on the card underneath.
No, this prelim card's actually pretty good. Like it's probably one of the most better ones because you got Nzechukwu against Devin Clark, and you know he fought against Kutalaba in that like last minute main event. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't get like maybe someone within the top 15. You know, obviously like considering he kind of helped save that card, and he had a really, really good showing. You got Chaos Williams, who we know has bombs in his hands. So if he lands on you, you're gonna go to sleep. He doesn't do boring fights. Like his power is crazy. I'm shocked about Marina Rodriguez is obviously on the prelims as well. You know, because up until the Amanda Lemos fight, she was looking like the next title challenger until Lemos just literally just beat the shit out of her.
I mean, yeah,
so obviously, So with that, like this is a really good prelims card.
Overall. Yeah, no,
like, this is really.
I'm glad you sold that for us. You're totally right. And then Rodriguez beat Jan. I can't say her name. She's fighting on the main card against Andrade.
Yang Xiaonan.
Yeah, she beat her by a split decision before she lost to Lemos. And then I always enjoy watching Jandiroba fight because I like that she could just grab your arm at any time and could tap you out. She's got that that ability to her. So I do think that's a very interesting fight for the ladies. Um, yeah, it's a good main card. I'm glad you sold it for us, or a good undercard. I'm sorry. Let's jump into the main card. Starting off with a guy who's probably only in the UFC because he has a last name, Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. What do you make of like Gracie? He wants to just change the whole fight style. He's like, these rounds don't make sense. Let's just do 15 minutes straight. Let's just do these water breaks. Like, dude, what are you talking about, man? Like, fighter safety matters, and you sound like a meathead. You sound like an idiot. I just don't know. Like, I don't like him.
Well, first of all, did you see how pissed he was at the whole press conference? He just looked mad the whole time. Hilarious. But I do understand where it's coming from, because he's kind of thinking, in the first early UFC days, there wasn't like time limits. You kind of just went. It kept going until if the time ran out. I think there was like some sort of like time limit eventually, and I do kind of get that, but at the same time, this isn't 1993. We have literally top level athletes along with highly skilled, and there's a reason why we need to have these rounds in there, because if you're going full throttle and you don't get any breaks, you could potentially get hurt. Because we've got people who are cutting down a lot of weight, and they need to manage their gas tanks. It would be interesting just to have, just like a very like open ring and literally just have like no time limit. I get that, but obviously with that, there are like the risk of, as you said, fighter safety, and also it'll just be a case of some people. I guess in a way, if you have like a break between rounds, people get advantage of if they're starting to gas out, they get time to recover. But also at the same time, it stops them at risk of getting really hurt. So I do kind of get where it's coming from a old school purist standpoint. But at this point now, like, we know that the 5-round method is tried and tested, and it works well. So I don't really see why there should be any change to that.
Okay. How do you see this fight playing out? It always surprises me when you see that he's already 34 years old. Gracie, that is. He's 5-1. Jourdain, we've seen him fight quite a bit. How do you see this one shaking out?
It really depends on, because I know the last time we saw Kron fight, he kind of got taught lesson against Cub Swanson, and since then he's obviously taken like a really, really long break. This fight will determine since then how much has he improved, how much tools has he added towards this course. We know Gracie, very, very simple, do not go on the ground with them. Like, we already kind of know that, but obviously then again, jiu-jitsu has kind of gone so far out and spread out that kind of like playing field that kind of balance out a little bit. Even though we know that family are literally precise and skill is as sharp as hell when it comes to that. Jourdain is so that he can also grapple, and he does like to stand on the feet, and he can and if it turns into a fight, he will fight you. Like, he doesn't do boring fights. He will go out there and he'll go out to put you out. But again, that could play into Kron's hands. Kron can obviously take him coming forward a bit too much and take him down, or obviously catch an opportunity to obviously catch his neck or catch like an armbar. I'm probably gonna go on the side of caution and go for Jourdain. But then again, I wouldn't be shocked if Kron wins. But obviously, that's really dependent on how much he has improved, and that for me is a big if. So with that in mind, I'm gonna go Jourdain, either late finish in the third or just a unanimous decision.
Yep. And I'm pretty much with you on that one. I got Jourdain winning. It's interesting. These guys are on the pay-per-view main card, and they're both coming off losses. Jourdain's coming off 2 losses. Kron's coming off the loss to Cub Swanson. It's interesting that this one was put on the main card, in my opinion. But Jourdain, I've got him winning. I would be a little bit happier if he knocked out Kron, just because. The Gracies haven't been relevant in years, guys. It's time to move on.
Wow. No value for MMA royalty whatsoever.
It's been 25 years. Besides, I mean, how successful have these guys really been besides, you know, besides the main one? I can't like they've not been that successful
No,
at
I
the
mean,
highest
you
level.
do.
Have they really been
Rickson,
successful?
Rickson, because I know people say obviously Hoist is obviously like the one that's like the standout, but if you look within their family, everyone says Hickson was like the best one by far. So,
But
yeah,
what did he ever do?
he had a few fights.
Yeah, he's the best in the Gracie training camp where nobody ever actually sees what happens. It's smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors.
You were definitely a Sakuraba fan back in the day, weren't you? Because you just go out there and beat the shit out of them and just bully them. You were definitely a Sakuraba fan.
I just think there's more to a legend than the actual people. That's
fair.
all.
That's fair.
Let's move on to this one. Evlov versus Lopez. Before we go anywhere, this feels like they're just giving Lopez to the Wolves here. Evlov's coming over a unanimous decision on Dan Ige. And then Ige, sorry. I always get it confused because he says, Ice Age, Ice, whatever. Coming off a win against him. Lopez, he's kind of just out there. What do you think about this fight? I mean, to me, it seems pretty cut and dry. But what do you think?
I mean, I know that originally this was meant to be Evloev against the best rapper in the sport, Fog Nasty, your guy, Bryce Mitchell. But obviously, Bryce got injured. I think Evloev stepped in because Bryce was meant to fight against Jonathan Pierce, I think, and he fell out as well. So obviously, there's been a lot of chop and change. Diego Lopez, I will admit, I don't know much about him. I know his last two fights have been back-to-back KO wins, so he's coming into form outside of the UFC. But you're facing against a guy who's 16-0, who looks like a potential title challenger.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah,
so
this is the first fight.
If I'm going to be honest, like I just don't see any other way than obviously Evloev just literally just having his way. But again, stranger things have basically happened, but it would feel like the sky would have to fall because I can't lie. Mozart looks fucking good. Even though he hasn't had any like finishes yet, he kind of just wins by points a lot. He's really good everywhere, and he seems like he's gonna be he seems like he's kind of destined to face amongst the top five potentially one day. So
I mean, if you look at his record, it's all unanimous decisions. It's all, just drowning guys pretty much. Lopez to me doesn't have a shot. This is pretty straightforward in this one. Let's jump ahead. We got Andrade coming back against you say her name because you had it earlier.
Yang Zhao Nan.
Yes. Interesting. This is, Andrade coming off that loss to Blanfield, that submission loss. How do you think she does? This is not short notice like it was against Blanchfield. How do you think she does here against Jan?
I mean, it always kind of feels like Andrade is always just kind of like just going between flyweight and like short right now at this point. She's very dangerous. She packs power. Like she packs some serious power. She obviously has a good ground game as well. She is the one who actually got Lemos in that standing triangle arm triangle hold, like, which was fucking insane. I feel like I do kind of feel like Jan's being pushed. He's always getting like these big names within the division because I kind of feel like I think it's kind of clear that obviously the champion is obviously Weili. He's from China, Jan's from China. That's a big market for them. That fight for basically the belt one day would be huge. like in terms of business wise, it'd be a huge moment. Yarn is good. Like she's kind of has a bit of everything everywhere, but I just don't know if she can deal with Andrade's power.
That's what I'm worried about too. She is coming off a win against Mackenzie Dern, which is that's a good win. And then, like we mentioned earlier, you know, had a loss against Rodriguez and Esparza. She needs this win if she's ever going to contend for the title. This is kind of the make or break it point right here in her career. She's 33 already, and Andrade, she's not a stepping stone. She is a roadblock for a lot of people, and this is a very important fight. I think Andrade knocks her out. I don't think she liked the way it went down with Blanchfield. I think this is going to be a little bit of a statement night for her. I wouldn't be surprised if she came out just firing in the first round.
Yeah.
Give me Andrade by knockout in round 1.
I will basically go and say this though. If Jan somehow wins, I won't be shocked because I kind of feel like we're probably gonna get Lemos against obviously Weili for the belt next. Well, I feel like that's kind of the fight that makes sense. I wouldn't be shocked if she wins. I wouldn't be shocked, depending obviously what happens with obviously Rose, because Rose is still there. I wouldn't be shocked if Jan somehow wins tonight. If she does get the next title shot after Lemos versus Yang, if that fight was to happen, I wouldn't be shocked at that.
Okay,
because I feel like at this point, the UFC just want any reason just to literally go to China and just have them headline the card because that basically taps in a massive market for them. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens.
That's a great idea. It's just a big mountain to climb in Jessica Andrade. Let's get into the next one. This one is a hell of a co-main event. Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. This is extremely important for the division. I know because you're a little bit biased. We're just gonna come out and say it. How can Muhammad win this fight?
Okay, before I even go into the fight, I'm gonna be nice. I'm actually gonna praise both of them, Bilal and Gilbert, for even taking this fight because we know we were meant to have Dariush against obviously Charles Du Bronx. That fight fell out. This fight and this card needed another like high level elite fighters on the co-main. Otherwise, this card would have been a little bit weak without it. And you've got 2 people within the top 5, and especially Burns. Burns literally fought on the last pay-per-view card. He's turned around right back. Bilal has shown if you give him a opportunity, he will fight. He stepped up late notice against Edwards as well. So I want to just kind of give them praise for that because they've kind of like saved the card in a way, even though we know we've always got the main event and the human ramification for that. But obviously, I'll just give them their shine because they've obviously agreed for this. Because obviously, normally, if you find get someone within the top 5, you want a bit more time to like train and prepare. And these guys are going, fuck it, we're gonna fight. So, props to that. With Bilal, he just has to literally be able to take Burns down and keep him down. Because don't get me wrong, he even though he's obviously training with Habib now, and his last fight, he finally actually put someone away. It wasn't remember the decision. He wasn't just having a ball performance. He actually put someone away. But if you remember in the first round, Brady was kind of beating him up a little bit and was blooding up his face. If Burns does that, Burns will put him away. Burns will hurt you. Period. Like, I'll probably everyone within the top 10 or at least the top 5. Burns probably has the most hardest hands outside of obviously Hamza, but we know Hamza is going to move up to obviously middleweight at this point. So, with that being said, Bilal's basic route to victory is to literally just do what you do best: wrestle, grind them out, tire them out. With that, he needs to be careful on on the ground, Burns can easily just lay down on his back and just go into his guard and threaten with obviously grappling, you know, because he can just like that, an arm, a neck, he'll obviously catch you. So obviously with that, Bilal just needs to kind of, you know, grind him out. He needs to obviously throw hands to obviously set up the takedowns and just drown him. But that is going to be a huge ask because if you think about it, Usman, when obviously Usman fought Burns, who was a better wrestler than Bilal, in my opinion, he had to stand with him. He never really went down with him because he knows how dangerous he is on there. So I kind of think Bilal needs to kind of take a risk and really, really kind of hone in on the wrestling for him to win.
Okay. And yeah, I thought that's really well said. I know who you're picking. Let's let everybody else know who you're picking. How's it shaking out?
Bilal is going to probably fight the best he's ever fought because he knows if he wins this, he's in line for a title shot. He can do everything he can, and he's going to lose. Burns is going to take us. Because personally, for me, like, take the fact that Bilal can be very annoying. He is a very good fighter. You know, he's very annoying sometimes, but he has skills everywhere. But I just feel like Burns is good, man. Like, Burns is fucking good, and I just feel like he has advantage on the feet. He has advantage in grappling. He literally just needs to avoid being taken down and kept down. So with that, I feel like Burns is going to win it over 3 because Bilal's hard to put away because he has a big head.
I'm right there with you. I got Gilbert Burns winning. I think it would be more interesting if Bilal won, just for, you know, the press and that kind of thing. Just because I just think it'd be more interesting going into.
I need to stop you. If you think Henry and Aljo are lame, you have to have the same energy for Bilal because Bilal's just as bad.
Yeah, but I don't see. But here's the thing: I get you to complain about it, and that intrigues me more also. So it's more of a personal. I get to hear you complain for until the fight, and then I don't know. I think he's a little bit better on the mic than those two guys. Is he great? No, but those two guys were literally kindergartners going back and forth.
Okay, you need to understand that this is HOA MMA, not HOA NBA. When you know, whenever you have like the Knicks lose and Kingsley gets mad and upset, this is not the same thing. Kingsley, I love you, my bro, but this is not the same thing.
Fair.
This is not the same thing.
Okay.
The same thing.
We'll put that aside. I am taking Gilbert to win. I think it's going to be extremely hard for Bilal to grind him out and get the decision. I don't see him knocking out Burns. It's just too much of a task to even put him down like that. I got Burns. You said 3 rounds? Yeah, I think it's going to take some time to wear out Muhammad. He's a tough guy. I mean, he just straight up, he is a tough guy. I think your decision or your choice is pretty spot on. I'm gonna piggyback off of you and say it happens in the 3rd round also. This takes us into a pretty massive fight for more reasons than one. This has got some legacy on it. This is Cejudo's comeback fight. This is Sterling making a run at being the greatest bantamweight of all time. These guys combined have won their last 14 fights. Sterling has won his last 8, and Cejudo's won his last 6. We've picked apart the press conference. They can't talk to save their lives. They're just cringy comments back and forth. Break down the X's and O's for us in the ring on this one.
It's like Ashley said, if you take away like everything that they said throughout the past few months, ever since this fight's been announced, if you just look at the X's and O's and just look within the context within the fight, this fight's a lot bigger than initially thought because Aljo hasn't lost since 2017.
It's crazy
when you actually think about it. I mean, I think it's 2017 or 2018. Either way, he hasn't lost in a very, very long time. I know there are asterisks with obviously with Peter Yan and especially with like the TJ fight because because obviously TJ kind of just he kind of just committed highway robbery and just got a bag just because he knew that he was hurt and just turned up anyway when he had one fucking arm. But
TJ.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
man. But if you think about this, you've obviously got Henry, who's made it clear he wants to be C4. He wants to come back. He wants to win the belt. He wants to fight. He wants to have a big fight against obviously O'Malley. He wants to go up and fight Bolt. He wants to be the first freeweight champion ever. Which, to be fair, as much as whatever people says about him, if he achieves that, that is huge.
Yes.
Huge in every sense possible. On the other side of things, Aljamain as well, like you said, he's making the case to say he is amongst the best bantamweights ever, and he could go down as the best. But he's also said he wants to move up. So there is kind of like legs in the line that he could potentially go for after having a fairly dominant run as champion, regardless of obviously how it happens and with some like decisions going his way and stuff. There's potential for him to obviously make a legacy of his own. So obviously you've got two people who are at a crossroads fights in that sense. I'm really 50-50 about this fight because even though Henry's been away for 3 years, he hasn't been away from the sport. Like he's been very active in coaching and he's still been training. It's not. It's kind of not as if he's kind of like just gone away, like resting. Yeah. So it's just kind of just like what I said before. Even though Henry's been away, he hasn't really been away, if that makes sense. And I've kind of been watching like his last two fights, especially at like bantamweight, because I'm not going to take the fights at flyweight into really account that much. Especially against the Marlon fight, whereas I personally believe Marlon is a better striker than basically Aljo, because as we saw in that fight, Marlon knocked him out.
Yes.
Henry actually took it to him. Like even though in the first round he was getting kind of beat up, especially with like the leg kicks a bit. Henry was like, "I'm gonna fight you," and he was giving it to him. Like he kind of has underrated striking in the sense that he's very quick on his feet. He's very quick on his feet, and I do give him that advantage when it comes to on the feet. Wrestling, we all know Henry has that clear. Like Henry is one of the best wrestlers within sport for a reason. I mean, he won a fucking Olympic gold medal, so that kind of shows caliber of wrestling he has. But Aljo has, grappling wise, Aljo is probably the best with it at 135 pounds, arguably. And with that obviously threat of that'll make Henry cautious when to take him down. And Aljo's huge. Like Aljo's way bigger than him, and he's also longer. And we know that Aljo has a very awkward striking style, so obviously he can probably keep him at bay.
Yes.
So, and this is yeah, I'm really 50-50 on this. I am gonna go towards Henry, and probably to around a week ago, I would have said Aljo, and I would have said Aljo because Aljo's bigger, Aljo's being more active, and he does offer a very dangerous grappling threat where he can probably catch him, or even maybe on the feet he can maybe, because he's so much bigger, he may just have just enough pop in his hands to kind of keep Henry at bay and kind of set up takedowns of his own and just get on top of him and just keep him down, because we know Aljamain's top body control is really, really good. But I just have a feeling that Henry may just be able to do it. I personally don't think he'll be able to knock him out, because it took crazy knee for fucking Marlon to basically put Aljamain out. And even though Peter Yan was beating Aljamain out in the first fight, he didn't really put him away. He did that illegal knee. It's really hard to put him away. So I'm gonna say if Henry comes back and just isn't rusty and it's like still Henry that fought against Marlon and Cruz, I do feel like he may win. But bro, I'll be honest with you, this fight's gonna be close. Personally, I have a feeling that this fight's gonna be very, very close.
This is a tough one. Like you literally laid it out perfectly. It's spot on. Can Sterling keep Cejudo off of him with the reach? Obviously, clear reach advantage. Not a lot of guys have been able to do that, and Henry's always fighting a bigger guy. He's used to it. There is going to be an adjustment early to the range because it's going to be a little bit more extended than most guys, but he's so used to fighting bigger guys that I don't think it's going to be a big factor for them. Can Henry get him down, and can he keep him down? Because Henry's just that good. Olympic gold medalist. Like, that just doesn't go away. And like you said, Sterling with the grappling. Can he get him in close? Can he get some elbows on him? Can he do different things to, negate the wrestling when they're down on the ground? It's really a coin flip. And if you look at the odds on some of the betting sites, it's literally Cejudo's plus 105. It's very, very close to even. Cejudo's minus 105, and Sterling's obviously plus 105. It's very, very close. I'm going to go Sterling. I do think, like you said, Henry has stayed pretty active, but I think there's a different level of activity when you jump in with a champion than maybe, a training session. I'm going to give Sterling the win because I think Cejudo will have a little bit of rust to knock off, and that's an opportunity for Sterling to take advantage of. So extremely close, razor thin, like you just explained for us, but I'm going to give Sterling the edge because of his activity, and I think he's that good.
Makes sense, man. But I do actually have a question for you. Yes. Whoever wins, do you think either one of them can beat O'Malley?
Yeah. I don't think anybody I don't think Merab, I don't think Henry, I don't think Sterling, I don't think any of these guys are going to stand with O'Malley where he would be able to beat them. So it's hard for me to picture a world where they let him have an advantage. And everything we've seen him scramble a couple of times, we've seen him get back up, but I don't think we're talking about the same quality of takedowns as you would get with Henry, Merab, Sterling. I have a hard time getting to the place where I think O'Malley's above them. He got the win over Jan, however you want to call it. He's waiting, but if he's not taking just round, training session after training session of just takedowns, just no rest, just takedown, different angles, single leg, double leg, grabbing the ankle, just picking the ankle, just doing everything possible, trying to get off the bottom against the best wrestlers you can find. If he doesn't do that, it's going to be really hard for him to ever be able to beat these guys. As good as he is on the feet, as dynamic as he is, it's a lot. It's a lot to do against these top three guys right now. Cejudo's in the top three because of, obviously, he's fighting for the championship. Do you think he could beat him right now? I don't know if he could beat Merab, and Merab won't even fight for the title.
Merab is the definition of a nightmare matchup for him.
I'm not even trying to single out O'Malley. Merab's a nightmare for anybody.
Yeah,
it's crazy at this moment.
I do actually agree with you. Right now, I wouldn't say so, just because as we know, his wrestling has been tested yet, and considering that obviously Jan was able to take him down at times against someone like Merab, Henry, Aljo, that's basically going to prevent problems. But he has a chance purely because on the feet he wipes them out, and every fight starts on the feet, and at some point they're gonna have to stand with him in order to obviously take him down, and he's taller and he's longer than them, and he can easily just do pot shots. He can pot shot away and wear them down, but obviously these guys are basically trained to take a hit unless they get clean flushed out. I do feel like those guys will eventually grab a hold of him and take him down. But I just kind of feel like it's a very interesting question just because we know that, whoever wins, they're fighting him next.
Yeah.
So
I
kind of just thought just like a fair thing to ask.
It's a perfect question because we know where we're headed. We already know Okay, here's a question back to you. Is there anybody in this division right now you think that could beat Merab? I, based on what we just saw, I don't think anybody could beat him, and I don't think so.
Well, Ricky
The
Miso,
pressure, the output, the takedowns, just dealing with so
funny you
much.
say that because Ricky Simone actually beat Merab. I know this was years ago. Do you remember that late fight when he choked him out, but obviously like the clock ran out.
Yeah.
If you're talking about this version of actually Merab, Corey does have a chance. Corey does have a chance. I do give him a chance because one, on the feet, it's clear, and he's kind of started to develop a solid ground game. Is it enough to keep Merab at bay? No, but I do feel like he has a chance where he can make it hard and keep it on the feet enough to maybe edge out a win or maybe put him away. But we know that Merab's a fucking like I remember like Marlon Moraes hit him with everything in the first round and had him out like rocked, and Merab came back and just put him away as well.
Yeah.
I know that this one is a huge maybe. The one person if I had to put money on, and I know this guy hasn't really been proven yet, probably would say Umar. If there's one person where you feel like in terms of if you kind of take them both here and you look at both of their respective skill set, Umar's probably the best tailored to beat him. But it's a case of is he good enough right now? Like like I know that he's he's the one guy that people don't want to fight, and he's highly talented. And to be fair, I think he's good just because he's just that fucking good, not just because he is obviously a certain person's cousin. Because I don't think that's fair on him. Like I think he's so good for a reason. I think his younger brother is the champion in Bellator.
Yes.
Usman Nurmagomedov. But I feel like out of anyone, if you told me, okay, Merab has to fight one person to beat him, I'll probably would pick Umar. Because I do feel like him and Song are kind of just like the people who probably gonna like lead the next wave of the bantamweights eventually. So I probably would say Umar if I had to pick.
That's interesting. I think that I think that's a solid pick. I just right now, after what we just saw against Jan, I just have such a hard time picking anybody over Merab at the moment. Like champion Henry, I don't know. I just think he's so overwhelming that it would be just difficult for anybody. That takes us into our next thing. This is the last thing before we get out of here. Because we mentioned it, this is this is a legacy fight for both these guys. This is really important. Top 5 bantamweights of all time. Your top 5 bantamweights of all time.
My top 5 bantamweights of all time. So, am I going 5-1 or 1-5?
5-1.
5-1. So, number 5, I have got. Okay, I know that with this, it's probably going to seem a little bit crazy, but if you kind of look at the landscape and the history of obviously bantamweight, I have got Jan at number 5.
Peter, Jan?
I got Peter at number 5.
You know what? I got to say this, right? I'm glad you brought him up again. Has anybody else ever fucked themselves so badly in their career on one stupid punch, knee, whatever you want to call it? Has anybody fucked themselves as bad as he did that night against Sterling?
Paul Daly, do you remember after the fight when he obviously swung after and Dana went, "You're not fighting ever again."
Okay, but here's the thing: did you ever think Paul Daly was going to be champion? I don't know if I ever thought he was going to be champion. Jan was literally the champion, and he looked like he could be. Okay.
Yeah, like it was crazy. No, because it's crazy because you think about leading up to that fight, like Jan was seen as no one can beat him, and he was like 27 when he beat Aldo. I think he was going to go on this very long raid. He was going to challenge to be the best bantamweight ever. like there was a lot of hype around him, and then that one knee, and then since then he's lost against Aljo in the rematch. He lost against some O'Malley in a close fight that many people thought he won, and he got mauled by Marab. You know, life for him was here, and now it's like down here. Like it's crazy.
I cannot think of anybody who has fucked themselves worse. But please, okay, 5 through 1. Go ahead, start over. I just wanted to get that out there.
That's cool. So I have him at 5. At 4, I have Aljo at 4 right now.
Oh wow.
I have Aljo at 4 right now. Because he has I don't really know in terms of his records fully, but I know that in terms of if you're looking at terms of wins, he's very much up there. He does have quality wins as well. He's obviously beat Pedro Munoz. He's beat obviously Corey. He's beat Peter Yan. He's beat TJ. I know context matters. But but I kind of feel like when you talk about all time, people just go by accolades. I'm going just by that, just in terms of fairness, because if you look at, let's say, NBA, people have MJ as basically the GOAT, right? And when they say that, they go, he's gone 6 for 6. They don't talk about in the first round in years when obviously he was getting like swept out, right? So with that being said, I do feel like, and to be fair, Aljo has obviously defended the belt twice now. Of course, he basically won the belt in the most fucked up way possible, but again, in a weight class where there isn't really much to go by in terms of accolades, the fact that he has some, and with his skill set and the people that he's beat, and he's been on a fairly good win streak as well, that does matter. So I do have him at 4. Okay. 3rd, I have Renan Barão.
Yes,
I have Renan Barão at 3rd. I mean, he won the interim title. He even defended it a few times before he became full champion when he beat Faber. I don't think people forget that this guy was pound for pound #1 in the world at one point. He was on like a 33 fight win streak. He was insane. He was putting people away. Before he eventually ran into the person I've got at number 2, which kind of gives a giveaway who I have the number 1. He was literally like, there were people saying like, is this guy one of the greatest fighters of all time? But again, after when he eventually lost the belt, he had that massive drop off. But when Renan Barão was obviously at his peak, he was sensational. Like, he was literally one of the most dangerous fighters pound for pound out
there. Okay, so who you got at 2?
I've got TJ Dillashaw.
Yep.
I know that legacy-wise, he has obviously stained it, and and we all know why. I'm not going to go into that, but you're looking at one of the only 2-time bantamweight champions ever, and he was the person who obviously beat Barão, and he beat him convincingly. When Barão was the guy, he beat him convincingly.
Knocked him out.
Knocked him out. And he beat him in a rematch as well. He basically did the same thing. Like, it was like a fluke. He literally ran it back. TJ, again, we all know what everything he's done outside and what's affected him as well. But I have a number 2, and number 1 is easy. I've also got Dominic Cruz. I know that he was obviously injured a lot, but like his title reign, I think he was the first ever bantamweight champion, and it kind of felt like he was like Triple H in literally 2002. That belt was not leaving him. No way, no how. No matter if he got injured, he'll come back and win the belt until obviously until Cody came along and put on one of the best title performances ever. Like, and Dom had everything. Dom had amazing footwork, amazing IQ, wrestling. He's beaten names. I mean, he also beat Faber, even though Faber beat him in the first fight. He also beat Mighty Mouse. He was one of the few people to beat Mighty Mouse in the UFC. Granted, it was at 135, but obviously considering what obviously DJ is now, which is for me one of the he's one of the best fighters ever. That is a huge cap on it, and also the fact that and also just and I just feel like the fact that obviously he's been injured a lot. He came back and won the belt, and even after the injuries afterwards, he's still shown. Even though he's not the Dom like he was in his prime, even now he's shown that he's still a top level fighter. So easy for me. He's easy the greatest welterweight of all time currently.
Yeah, that's fair. So my 5 are the same people, just in a little bit different order. I have Jan at 5 also. I have Barao at 4. I have Aljo at 3. I have TJ at 2. And I have Cruz at 1. Cruz was on a 13-fight win streak at one time. And 7 of those fights, he was either defending the title or winning the title in that run.
Crazy.
It's just an insane run. I mean, and you could never put TJ over him because he beat TJ when it mattered most. And so my only thing is, if Aljo beats Cejudo, who is Cejudo the second best featherweight ever?
Oh yeah.
So
right now, that's something I want to leave when we get to International Fight Week, because I do have an opinion on that, and there's a reason why for that. But in terms of right now, yeah.
Okay, so to be fair, if he beats Cejudo, who you could probably fairly rank as a top 10 bantamweight of all time, who's the
easily,
the second best flyweight of all time. Yeah. This is a massive win. If he beats Cejudo this weekend, I do think this puts him over TJ.
Okay.
And I understand, like, we didn't get a fair fight between Sterling and TJ, but I don't know if TJ could have beat him anyway, even if he was 100%. I think it's very close. He still has some work to do to obviously reach Dom, but if he goes up and wins against Volk, it's over. Like that's the best part. Your resume wouldn't get any better. Two division champ, and you beat Volk, who's the greatest at his weight. Yeah, I mean, he is. It's just there is Aljo's. His book is not finished. He's on the path to becoming the greatest bantamweight of all time. And Dom Cruz can't really add any more championships to his legacy at this point. It's going to be very hard. But the fact that he's still fighting after the injuries he's dealt with and after all the fights he's had is also a tip of the cap to Dom Cruz, who he was a phenom for that stretch of time between WEC and then going into the UFC. The guy was a phenom. I mean, just simple as that. So my top 5: Jan, Barao, Aljo, TJ, Cruz, 5-1. AJ, what else you got for us before we get out of here, man?
Nothing much really. I can't think of. I think one is this weekend, right? One championship.
I believe they do have an event this weekend.
Never watched that because the main event is Mighty Mouse against Adrian Moraes, Part 3. Mighty Mouse is one of the best. 1-1 trilogy fight. He's one of. Okay, I'm gonna kind of pretend that obviously, that people who watch this know about MMA. They all know he is one of the best fights ever, and
nobody ever watched the fight when he fought though.
True.
Sorry, he's great.
But if you never watch him fight, it is a joy to watch, even at his age now. And they've also got your guy, Roteng, is fighting as well on that card. But the Iron Chin.
Oh my God.
The Iron Chin is fighting on that
and
card.
And he had a great call out recently. He had a great call out of the guy one just signed. Roche has a good call out. Like, he gets it. He's still a crazy person, but he gets it. I love it.
He gets it.
Also, if you have not seen Mighty Mouse fight, he has the single best move I think I've ever seen. The throw into the flying armbar. Suplex into a flying armbar. It's the single greatest move you'll ever see somebody it has to be the single greatest move you'll ever see somebody do in a fight.
Yeah.
Suplex into a flying arm bar. Just look it up. It's the most insane move you'll ever see.
In midair, he caught it in midair
Yeah.
and bring it down, and was kind of perfect.
Oh my!
And locked it in perfectly. Like I couldn't believe when I first saw that.
The skill it takes to throw somebody, control your own body, to grab and pull is just it's astounding. Mighty Mouse, and to be fair, this could be a retirement fight for Mighty Mouse.
Yeah,
win or lose, the rumors are he could be done. So if you don't want to miss Mighty Mouse's last fight, he's been fantastic his entire career. What a legend. Shout out to Mighty Mouse, obviously. Sure. Other than that, yeah, definitely check out Mighty Mouse's potential last fight. Other than that, guys, AJ kick-ass. Go ahead.
Watch Dune Part 2 trailer. Have to. It's gonna be the best movie you will ever see in November. Just watch it. Just watch, and also watch Part 1. If you haven't watched Part 1, watch Part 1. Trust me. Just trust me.
You've put over Dune more than any I could ever do. So, guys, just check out Dune. It is fantastic. It has that epic feel, like we could potentially have our generation's version of Star Wars. You know, like it started back then. This could be us going forward. Check it out. It's fantastic. AJ, let's get out of here. We cannot promote Dune anymore until they start paying our bills. We got to get out of here. HOA MMA out. You guys have a great weekend.
Yes, sir.